In this episode of Carnage, we're going racing with Mr Dodgy. This is Mr Dodgy, our 1963 Dodge Phoenix that we picked up cheap from Grays Online. Now we paid just under $1,500 for this thing, and then we put a 440 big block in it and built it in just 21 days for the running on empty cruise in Cobar, New South Wales. And it made the trip with no problems at all. All right, maybe a couple of little problems. Now, it's time to set him up on the dyno at max performance before we head out the strip to see what Mr Dodgy will do down the quarter mile before we start throwing performance parts at him. Let's get this party started. That's bizarre.
As soon as I get over 3/4, it does it.
Yeah, because on the street it doesn't do it. So like I can get full throttle on the street.
I can try and take some load off the dyno.
Yeah. So what RPM are you feeding it in though?
Fairly up there then, like 160. I didn't stand on to 150 kilometres an hour.
Oh, okay.
So it's pretty up there.
Yeah, wow. Can we feed it in
this
slower?
Is less
or?
load, so I'll do it again,
yeah.
and I won't go past.
All right. So what's happening is when Zane's going full throttle at full load, it's kicking down. And it's something we experienced on the Cobar trip once when I pulled out to overtake a truck. It kicked down and it free revved, and I'm like, yeah, it was not good. So we're going to loosen off the kick down pressure a bit so it doesn't try and kick down, and hopefully we can then get full throttle and full power and see what it actually makes. This is the kick down rod for the transmission. So torque flights don't use vacuum or anything like that to control the kick down. It's all throttle pressure. So basically this rod runs down to a lever on the transmission and it sets the pressure in the transmission. So, you know, the more pressure you put on that, the more likely it is to kick down. So what we have to do is shorten up that rod by adjusting it so it then has less pressure on the kick down and less likelihood of kicking down into, well, it should in theory kick down to second gear, but for whatever reason, this one kicks down into neutral. We don't like neutral. Wow, that's all the way in too. So normally we would turn that in to make that shorter, but that is all the way in at the moment. So we're going to have to take that off and actually shorten the rod or shorten the threads. Thank you. See if that works. All right. That's been adjusted quite a way. All right, give that a crack. I got Zane to switch it over to horsepower, so it didn't kick down or anything?
For the boards.
Yeah.
But I eased it, so I'll stand on it a bit earlier.
Yeah. All right, so that's a baseline. Now we'll do some tuning. We'll start by putting a timing light on it, see where the timing's at. We'll set that up and go from there. So, got to put our lead on for number 1. Then we need a bit of power and a bit of earth. So power we'll just take from the starter. And earth, we can take it from anywhere, but I'll just take it from this header bolt. So I've adjusted that to 10 degrees before top dead center. So it actually had a bit too much timing in it before, so too much timing is just as bad as not enough. We'll tighten that up. So obviously it likes a little bit of timing. Looks like it wants a little bit more, so I'll just crank it up a little bit. We'll see what difference that makes back to back. All right, so I just added a couple extra, I went to where it was before and then added a couple extra degrees just to see if it likes that. This is how we tune it. I think I was almost on the sweet spot to start off with, which is really annoying.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. I might have been in the sweet spot to start off with, so I'll adjust it back just a little bit and see where we're at. Well, it seems happy there, so I guess we'll leave it at that. We'll move on to the carby. Edelbrock carby is basically a newer version of an old Carter AFB. So aluminium 4-barrel is what AFB stands for. And instead of just using a metering jet, which is what a Holly uses, it just uses a fixed size of orifice, all right, and fuel flows through it. So that's fine if you just want to jet a particular area of your power graph. But what these do is a metering rod, so they actually sit inside a jet and they withdraw as your fuel demand increases. So at low RPM you don't need as much fuel, so the metering jet actually fills most of the hole, and then as your fuel demand increases, the jets remove, allowing more fuel to flow, which is a much better way of doing it. So the metering rods, such as these, just replace in the top of the carby, and you can replace them in like 60 seconds. So you can see it's just a little plunger that has a spring under it. Metering rod runs there, and there's a little clip that holds the metering rod in. So just pull the clip down, pull the rod out. It's So I'll stick that over there, grab one of these, slide that in, and we've just got the clip there and it's held in. Nice and simple. So we just take that back over here, pops in like so.
Didn't change. Yeah, just do it again, just see what happens. Well, we're moving in the right direction, but it looks like it wants actually more fuel, so might go again, change it up. We'll richen it up just a little bit more, see if we can find some more power. Had a thought about it, and we have a bit of an off-idle stumble with this car, and they recommend putting a heavier spring in there under the piston. So basically lift the piston up, so a little orange spring in there. There's a heavier spring, stick that in. Now it won't affect power at all, it'll just affect drivability. So it should be nicer to drive now. It wasn't bad before, but this will make it better. So what we're going to do now is a jet change. We've gone as far as we can with just changing metering rods. Now we have to change the jets, make that hole bigger. So, and that's the way the jet and the metering rod works. So as the rod comes out, it allows more fuel in, out, basically. So to do this though, I've got to take the top part of the carby off. So it's a little bit more involved, but not too difficult. Do not want to lose that. That's one. So you just use a T25 Torx bit for this part. Gone fishing. So took the 413s out, we're putting 416s in. So 116 thou versus 113 thou. Doesn't sound like much, but it doesn't need to be much. Basically you just gotta them up. So we've done the jet change, and they actually recommend doing a rod change at the same time. They actually wanted me to step the rods back a level, but I'm just going to leave the bigger rods in there and just send it. It's not groundbreaking, and it never was going to be. I mean, I said from the start, this is not going to make 1,000,000 horsepower, but this is where we were at. 184 was our worst run to start off with. We're up to 216 horsepower is our best run. Obviously, it likes a bit more fuel. It started off, yeah, on the lean side. We've fattened it up, and it's loved it. So it also likes running
when it's cool. So the first run when we make a change is usually the best. So jetting, timing, I'm amazingly got the timing pretty much right just by ear to start off with. A little bit of tweaking and it's perfect now. So we're pretty much ready to go at the track. But a lot of people are going to look at that figure and go, 216 horsepower, really? 440 big block? You got to remember, this is not the 440 of the RT Charger and Roadrunner and all that. This is motorhome 440. This is just a stock, rebuilt, late model 440. It's like a 78 model. And they weren't building performance engines in 78, I'll tell you. So if this was like a 69 or 70 440, it'd be a different story. I'd be very disappointed if that was the power figures. And we can get a lot more out of that. Heads cam will wake this thing right up. So anyway, that's for the future. Right now, let's take it to the track. I think Mr Dodgy, he's going to surprise a few people. Here we are, Calder Park with Mr Dodgy. That's right, we're going to race Mr Dodgy. Well, it's not going to go fast, we know that. It made 216 horsepower on the dyno, which isn't a lot, but it did make a lot of torque, and I'm hoping that this thing will go 14s on the quarter. If we make a 14.9 or better, I'll be very happy. And this is just the baseline of the car. We just want to see what it'll do as standard, and then we can cam, heads, a few other bits and pieces. I think it might surprise a few people. It's certainly going to be a lot of fun, so let's go racing. I've gone in this car, or fastest I've gone in this car, is about 145 k's an hour, so this is going to be experience because whatever I run now will probably be the highest speed I've been in this car before, probably the highest speed it's done in 20 years, so maybe it's whole life, who knows. It's going to be interesting. I've got no tacho, so I can't work out where to shift gears. I just got to basically do it by the seat of the pants. Considering it wouldn't go into top gear, I don't know why. Might have to back off the old kick down a little bit more. Because she's holding on to second way too long. Might try short shifting it. It's got plenty of torque to carry it. I reckon I'm probably over revving it a bit in the lower gears. So we've had two runs now, both 15.2s. Unfortunately, it's just holding on at the top of second gear and will not shift into top unless I back off and flip it again. So what's happened is there's too much pressure on the kickdown rod. I need to shorten that rod again, but I've got nothing to shorten it with. So this time I'm just going to leave it in drive, D for drag, and just send it. See what we can do with that. I've been having a bit of trouble with the starter motor, and I even replaced it the other day thinking, yep, all right, we'll replace the starter and it'll be all good. Well, new starter motor, and it's still doing the same problem in that occasionally it starts and sometimes it doesn't. So I was having a bit of a fiddle with the wiring and come across this. So I thought this was like an extra starter relay. Well, actually what it is a remote starter button. So if I push the button, if I turn the ignition on and push the button, she'll fire up. No more screwdrivers. So we'll try and work out why it doesn't start, but in the meantime, we got an easy solution to get this thing fired up. All right, let's see if we can get this 14. I'm just gonna put in D for drive, D for drag. Send it. Mr Dodgy didn't want any part of that. D for drive, D for drag, whatever you want to call it, D for dumb, because it did not want to play. So this run, I'll try something slightly different. What I'm going to do is shift into second, stay into it, and as I shift into third, I'm going to step off the gas, shift into third, hopefully it'll drop into third, and then into it again. So it's going to have to blip the throttle basically, but I don't want it to valve bounce, you know, so basically we're going to try and cheat. That's all I can do at the moment. Battery's flat. Yeah. We tried to get a fourth pass, but the combination of thermofans running and starting and stopping all the time just run the battery down. So I did my burnout and the thing went flat. So now I've got to jump start it and get it home because we're done for the night. There's no point keeping running it when we know we've got other problems. So we'll sort out that kickdown issue, we'll sort out our charging issue, and we'll bring it back out and run that 14-second pass because we know it's capable, and once we've got our proper baseline, then we can start modifying it. So let's just get this thing home, get it sorted, come back another day. So we're heading out to the drags again tonight with Mr Dodgy. Obviously we had some issues last time with the kickdown pressure being too high, so that wouldn't allow it to shift into top gear. We have no adjustment in the kickdown rod at the moment. It is wound all the way back, so I actually have to shorten the rod so I can wind the adjustment back so we can get less kickdown pressure and get this thing into top gear as it normally should be. Nothing caught fire, no one died. It's all good. That on. Right, pretty much job done. We're out here at Cobar Park again with Mr Dodgy. We've reduced the kickdown pressure. We're going to go out, make some passes, see if we can get this thing into the 14s and then try some other stuff. So hopefully it's a good night. Unfortunately, a lot of cars here, so we're not going to get a lot of runs, but hopefully we get some good runs. we've done a run with Mr Dodgy, 15.3, which is not happy. I'm not happy with that. It didn't valve bounce, but it didn't shift into top either. So now we're getting a bit of throttle sticking, so which is not good. So I've loosened it off a little bit again. Unfortunately, that's going to give it too much kick down pressure, so I don't see it really improving much. However, I did do a very ordinary 60-foot time that time. So if I concentrate on the 60-foot, get a better 60-foot, then hopefully we can get a better pass out of this thing. Ah, Mr Dodgy, what can we say? You tried and you failed. A pair of 15.3s tonight, which isn't really good enough. We did 15.2 last time. We really thought of going to the 14s, but that kick down rod arrangement is just not working for us. So what we're gonna have to do is replace the kick down rod with a nice cable arrangement, which will be a lot more adjustable and allow us to get into third gear, get into top gear the way we should. It keeps holding second gear, and that's a problem. So we'll fix that. I don't know that we'll bring it out again before we do some other major improvements, because what I really like to do is put some heads and cam on this thing. That'll really wake it up. I reckon we'll gain an extra 100 horsepower or so. So catch you next time.